Working with buyers. A lot of realtors rather work with sellers because they can leverage their time, but working with buyers is a lot easier than most realtors could think. Number one reason is the excitement level. When you're working with the buyer, you're working with a client that is excited to make this move. For the most part, I should say, I would say 95% of the times, a buyer is extremely excited to make this move, to make this purchase. It could be a first-time owner, and a first-time homeowner is definitely on a high, or it could be somebody who's sold their first-time home and now they're moving into their dream home, their forever home. That's a huge amount of excitement. So when you're working with a client like that on that energy level, it's a lot easier for that agent to work with them day in and day out, so they could find something to fulfill that need and that drive, that motivation, because it is pure motivation at that point in time for the buyer. So another reason why a realtor, it's a lot easier for a realtor's business to work with buyers is because buyers are led by emotions. Now, there are some buyers out there that are born negotiators and hagglers. Definitely out there, especially the investors. If you're working with an investor, the numbers have to work. Okay, the rent roll coming in has to pay off the mortgage and the other expenses, and some type of cash flow has to remain. So that's basically black and white. But on a buyer's end, a residential buyer, there is an emotional attachment to this property for the most part. So, they're willing to negotiate lightly for the most part, be guided by their agent's advice, and they don't want to lose the deal, especially if they've been looking at a bunch of homes for a long time and they've lost a few homes through negotiation. They should, for the most part, a lot of these buyers are right now at this point in time doing everything possible to get into that home, and they're looking at the realtor and asking them for their help. How are you going to help me get into this home, my dream home or my first time home, so I could raise a family and live a good life and create some wonderful memories? It's all emotion driven, and it's a lot easier when you have that and you're working with buyers as an agent. All right, so the last reason why it's much easier to work with buyers is because after the transaction, starting at the closing table, those buyers for the most part are looking at the realtor as a hero. That realtor fulfilled their dreams, helped them get into a home so that they could raise a family and build memories in there. They're looking at that realtor as a friend, as somebody that they could turn to, in the future. Sellers, it's not so much the same as with a seller. For the most part, let's be for real. A lot of times a seller sits at that closing table, especially when the commission check is being written out and is handing over to the realtors. A lot of times they say, what did this realtor really do to deserve this large amount of money? It happens. They don't know the background. They don't know the everyday things that a realtor needs to do to keep this deal together to that closing table. So it's pretty normal that a seller does feel that way, because they're the ones for the most part paying for the service, not the buyers. Then usually a seller moves out of the area. Very rare does a seller stay in the market area that the realtor serves. But now a buyer looks at you as a hero, that you made their dreams and their goals possible in this new house, and they're going to stay there for quite a bit of time. Sometimes, I would say minimum 5 years, and then it can go up to 30, 40 years from now. So you're always going to be able to stay in touch with these buyers, and the buyers will receive that very well every time you reach out to them with a phone call or a text message or an email, or stop by their home just to say hello, to deepen that relationship and also to get referrals. So when a buyer stays there in the market area of the realtor, where that realtor works, the relationships gets deeper over the years, over time, and more referrals come into place, And when it's time for them to be on the other side of the transaction, so when they have to maybe upgrade to a bigger home or downgrade to a smaller home or whatever, for whatever reason, after all these years of you staying in touch, they reach out to you so you could sell their home and start the process all over again. That's why it's a lot easier to work with buyers.